What's up, everybody in football land? You're here with JP and Quentin, Chiefs Focus Live on the Fantasy Sports Corporation, brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. What's up, guys? What's up, man? What's going on?
It is for us Kansas City folk out there. It is Salvador Perez's 33rd birthday. So I know when he's done playing today, he's going to totally watch this. So happy birthday, Salvi.
He's the man.
Yeah. Other than that, we've got some football stuff. Talk about some scheduling things that impact the Chiefs and just the rest of the NFL. And, an opportunity to talk about what the NFL thinks of some of the teams when the schedule comes out tomorrow.
Yep. It's a little bit of leaks coming out. We know we got Cincinnati week 17. We know we got Miami and Germany, which was a pushback from the Chiefs because they wanted, like you had thought, maybe I probably tend to agree with you. They want the travel would, Chicago definitely travels better than Miami does. So,
yeah.
It's a 600, 6 hour, what is it, 600 miles from Chicago compared to, I think 1,800 miles from Miami.
Well, there's a reason why there's that stereotype about, Midwesterners about us driving everywhere. And, if it's within a day, we'll drive there.
Yeah.
I thought that this was, there was a conversation that we've been talking about weeks ago when, this came out that we knew Kansas City was going to have an international game and we were trying to figure out who was it going to be. I thought it was going to be the Lions because I just thought that was a team that was sort of in that up and coming era type, and they would be, it's another sort of high flying offense. And so if you want to bring people to a football game, put two high flying offenses up against each other and see what happens. So I thought it was going to be the Lions. Obviously you can make the same argument about the Dolphins, and they're another high flying offense. And if you're going to see, some of the best the NFL has to offer, I mean, it's a pretty good matchup, right? It is interesting that it's going to be later in the season. It's going to be in November. So if, all jokes aside, I don't know if Tua's going to be healthy for that game. So
that's funny. I'm sorry, but it is.
I don't know. I mean, it's a serious, right? If you're talking about the NFL wants to put the best offenses on the field that it can, and in order to show off, the best part of the NFL, which is scoring, is Tua going to be healthy in the middle of November?
I don't know. There's a running bet that he doesn't make it past week 5, so we'll just see how that works out.
I think that's a serious thing that you need to consider.
Yeah.
That if Skylar, all respect to Skylar Thompson, K-State guy, if he's playing Miami against Kansas City over in Frankfurt, Germany, I don't know if that game will be all that exciting.
Probably not. No matter if you got Tyreek or whoever you Waddle, it doesn't matter who you have down there. It's going to be, it's not going to be as exciting. And you know what? I think you're right. I think it's a big fuck you to Tyreek.
I think it is too. It totally is. It is. It's a big jab at Tyreek Hill for what, 18 months now. He's talked about how he's going to come back to Arrowhead and he's going to flash the deuces and get the crowd yelling at him. And Kansas City was just like, how about you go to Germany?
Yeah.
Because there was a report that came out that Kansas City, it was going to be the Bears, but Kansas City wanted Chicago to play in Arrowhead. And so they had to pick another team, and, they went with the Dolphins. So it is kind of it's just a screw you to Tyreek Hill and everything that he's been saying for the past year. on
Absolutely.
his stupid podcast.
And I think it's funny. He kind of deserves the fuck you. I mean, he does. I think he forgot who saved his ass. He forgot who kept him here. He forgot the fact that maybe if we would have cut him, he probably wouldn't have even got the contract that he got with us. So it's pretty sad that he's become very, I guess, opinionated when it comes to Kansas City. And then the fucking whole thing about saying the Kansas City Queefs, that was bullshit.
I,
I don't
I
get
just want
him,
to move
man.
on.
Yeah, he's an idiot. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Well, it's funny, for those of you that don't know, Clark Hunt is he's the head of the international committee. So
yeah,
he has his hands on this. So I conspiracy theory alert. I just can't imagine that wasn't a thought that went on in his head when this decision was made. Obviously,
absolutely.
he's not making the decisions unilaterally, but if you're the head of the committee, you have some pull.
Yeah.
And he's one of, the more tenured owners in the NFL. So, he already has some pull to begin with.
Yeah, I think it was. I honestly, I agree with you. I don't think there's any conspiracy behind it. Clark may be the classiest guy on the planet, but he also can say "fuck you" when he wants.
Yeah,
and I think that's basically what he did.
We need a reckless speculation sounder.
Yeah, we do. I don't know if I have one of those. Let me take a look. I got a lot of crazy sounds.
we need one. We just got to dedicate it to when we're going to say reckless speculation. We need to play that and then give our bit.
Yeah, I think we'll find one for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But anyway, also with speculation is the Eagles, whether they'll be week 1 or week 2. I heard week 2. Then I was told that apparently Donna Kelsey came out and said we were playing week 2.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is just to throw people off. I was told by a media guy that it was week 2. I don't know who she was told by, whether it was one of her kids or, she is pretty high up in the NFL now. So
yeah, I can't imagine that they're the first week, right? I think that the game 1 doesn't have to be a good game. I think it could just be a mediocre game, and everyone will be happy with it because it's the first regular season game of the NFL season. So you can have a mediocre game, and everybody's still going to watch it. You're still going to get all the eyeballs on it because one of those teams is guaranteed to be good, right? I mean, it's the Super Bowl champion that hosts the opening day in their stadium. So, yeah, I think that if we're just looking at some of the home games here, I can go through the list. Obviously, we have the 3 AFC West teams, the Raiders, Chargers, Broncos. We know the Miami game is a home game, so it won't be the Dolphins. So our options are Bills, Bengals, Bears, Lions, Eagles. I don't think it'll be the Eagles because that's going to be an absolute hell of a game, and I don't think that you'd use that game for week 1. That's the same reason I don't think you would want the Bengals or the Bills. Those are like playoff games and seeding games, and you don't want to use those early. I mean, we faced the Bills. I think what was it, week 4? Was it week 4 this season or week 5?
Yeah, I think so.
And then the Bengals were way towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
So
what about this, Quentin? What if they went completely unorthodox with this whole thing and we play the Broncos week 1?
I think
because of Sean Payton.
Yeah, I think that would be intriguing because you've got a team that's probably not going to be very good. But the conversation about it is, well, what did Sean Payton do? And of course, Kansas City is Kansas City. So I think that would be intriguing to have that. I don't think you have the Chargers because the Chargers games are always good and you don't need the extra hype around it.
Yeah.
The Raiders and the Jimmy Garoppolo angle of it, I don't think is all that intriguing. So
no,
I don't think the storyline is there.
They're still going to suck. The Raiders are going to Raiders. So
yeah,
it kind of is what it is.
I do think that the Lions would be an intriguing one, right? The Lions are one of these teams that got a lot of hype towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Their offense was really kicking it off. Jared Goff was like a top 5 quarterback there for about a month in terms of his passing yards.
Yeah.
So, that could be a game where
you know who else it could
Lions, be? I think that could be one that.
What about the Jags?
We don't face the
I thought we played the Jags.
We do, but we go to
we go there, don't we? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're right. That would be a pretty cool if it was at home, that'd be a pretty cool home game.
Yeah, I think of the Bears, there's a reason they protected it. So maybe they wanted to protect it to open up against Chicago. It's a big media market. It's the third largest media market in the country. That's why they have two baseball teams. And it is.
It is.
So if you ever forget that, that's a good. I won trivia night with that question, listing off the three biggest media markets and
He was playing by
the
himself.
ones that have two
Anyway.
baseball teams. So they protected it for a reason, right? When I was at the draft, the second largest fan base I saw were Chicago Bears fans.
Yeah,
So they travel well.
they do.
Maybe that's why you protected it, because you wanted that to be your opening game.
Could be. Could be. You know what? At this point, it really doesn't matter because whoever we play, it's going to be exciting just to see football again. And we've got 2.5 months left to wait, and we're going to be watching football again. So it's going to be nice to see. But I agree with you. I've heard the speculation about the Eagles being week 1. I don't really think that's going to happen. If anything, it may be week 2, but I don't see it happening week 1. Well, I want to talk about something really quick because I think it's fucking hilarious. I got to tell you something. Andy Reid is just a national treasure, dude.
Yeah, he's a.
And I got to tell you, I don't know if anybody watched the New Heights show with Andy on there, but that was fucking great.
Yeah.
I mean, his comment about, I guess they asked him, what was it like to play against, your former team, some of the guys you've drafted, guys that you drafted back then, and now you're seeing them, across the field. What do you think? And he goes, it was weird, man. He goes, that was really weird. And he said there was one point when their tight end caught a pass, and he went to say, oh, shit, that's a great – oh, man, it was them. Because, he was thinking, damn, I was going to brag about the Chiefs, but then it just dawned on him that, oh, shit, I'm not an Eagles coach. I haven't been one for 11 years. But he was going to say, hey, that was a hell of a catch. But he caught himself. He also brought up a couple other things. I got to tell you, Andy's hilarious. He's got dry humor that just makes you laugh. I love the guy. I tell you, if anybody gets a chance, go watch the New Heights show that just came out today with him on there because it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a shorter show. It's this one's like 45 minutes long, so it's a little shorter. But yeah, it's great. They got Andy Reid, and I think that's what the Chiefs Twitter account was tweeting about yesterday. That Andy Reid was going to be on the show.
Well, I think what they actually were tweeting about was the announcement of the Germany game. That's what they were actually tweeting about. We said that on the show last night, and I think on our network, and because we had people asking, and it was just. I found out that it was about the game in Germany, playing Miami in Germany, and all that stuff. But
man, I don't want to have to wake up. I don't want to have to wake up and watch it. I like sleeping in, man.
What time's that game going to be, man? I mean,
I think they start Kansas City time at like 8 or 9. So, because I want to say they're like 6 o'clock starts on the West Coast, so 8 o'clock in Kansas City time.
Yeah, sounds about right. Man, it is early.
Yeah, that's early to wake up and to watch football. So, I mean, it's great. Usually when there's these overseas games, I usually end up watching the second half of games because that's when I get up. But yeah, and then we're gonna have to do a show afterwards. I mean, this is first world problems all the way. I recognize that, but still.
Oh, I tell you what, the other thing Andy said, I thought it was kind of funny. He said, I got to go to Whataburger to support Pat. He doesn't make enough money, regularly. LOL. Yeah. I mean, that's funny. I don't care who you are. That's just fucking funny. And he just comes up with it quick. By the way, really quick, just so everybody knows, on June 5th, the Chiefs are scheduled to go to the White House to visit President Biden over their Super Bowl win. So anybody that wants to, watch
they didn't get to do that last time.
They did not.
No,
and now they get to.
They didn't, and that's why this will be exciting when the season starts back up because even that football season was kind of weird. It started off kind of weird, so we'll get to see the media rollout of all of the Super Bowl banner and everything else that comes from that because we didn't get that experience last time because of COVID. We really got robbed of that.
Yeah, we did. Um, I was curious I was curious about who was going to show up, but then I thought, okay, wait a minute. I don't think they really care because it's Biden. You know, I mean, not anybody's going to shun it because it's Biden. I don't think there's, it's not like it was with um, another president that we had in office that people didn't want to go see him
Yeah, well,
when they won the Super Bowl.
I also think if you just have the opportunity to go to the White House,
Yeah, I
why
mean, why
not?
wouldn't you want to go? Hell
Yeah,
yeah! I mean, I go.
especially because
I wanted to see the history.
yeah, you get the VIP tour. You get to see
Yeah, you
all
get
the
to see everything.
So yeah,
You get to
that'd
see
be
the red button. You get to see the red
yeah,
phone. You get to see all that shit. The
yeah. You get to
suitcase
go
that's
into
all
the
locked up.
you get to go into the basement. Um,
Yeah, man. Get to go down into the tunnel
yeah.
and see.
So I have a question for you, which sort of rolls into the point of the show, which is talking about who's going to fall off. There were some rule
Yes.
changes in how the NFLs can schedule. Previously, there were two big rule changes. One, it's a free for all in terms of the network and who gets games, right? Usually, Fox had the NFC and ABC had the AFC game, or CBS had the AFC games, and with just a little bit of layover. But otherwise, depending on who your team was, you pretty much knew who you were cheering for. And then the other rule change was that every NFL team had to be on prime time at least once. Both of those rules were eliminated. So, who do you think gets uh, a limited, significantly limited? They have no primetime games, or maybe it's one when they're an away team. Who do you think gets shunned by the NFL / the networks? Because that'll tell us what the NFL thinks about those teams.
I got to be honest. I mean, if you're looking at AFC West, you're going to have to say the Raiders. They're going to get shunned. They suck. They're terrible. I mean, they're not a good football team. I think they're going to get shunned, and I wouldn't be surprised if you know Carolina maybe teams like that just really didn't produce a whole lot last year, and then didn't make significant strides this year to make a difference, which the Raiders really didn't, and really Carolina didn't do a whole lot. Um, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I would probably put those two. Maybe if you're
I would
talking
put
about
Arizona on that list.
and Arizona's on that list. Who else?
I always forget like the Panthers exist. And I mean that like, when you're going through whatever conversation you're having about the NFL, you're like, "Oh, name the starting quarterbacks for every NFL team," or whatever your conversation is. You go through it and then it's like, I know I'm missing a few teams here. And then you just start running through in your head. You can start going through division by division. You're like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, the Panthers."
And then you got the Bucks because they really don't have anybody anymore.
That
They're
entire
back.
NFC South is just a hot bucket of garbage.
Yeah, we might as well just say they're probably going to be the least amount of primetime games out of
Yeah.
everybody. But I think like the Raiders are going to fall off when it comes to that. They'll probably get one, maybe two, if they're lucky. And I think it really depends. And it's probably going to be because of the fact they're playing us. I mean, honestly, when you really consider it, the only primetime games they're going to get are when they're playing more elite teams.
Yeah,
Which would be like us.
if
The
Raiders
Bills.
might have another Monday Night Football game in Arrowhead, but
Yeah,
it won't because it's the Raiders. It's because you're facing Kansas City.
exactly.
That will be the saving grace for a lot of these teams is like divisional games. Like I'm not excited about the Titans, but the Titans and Colts always seem to get one of those primetime slots at some point.
Yeah.
So that divisional games always get extra hype up, but yeah, I think that you're going to learn tomorrow when the schedule comes out. We're going to learn a lot about what the NFL thinks and what some of these networks think about certain teams by how many primetime games they get. I would love to be a fly on the wall for the conversation and negotiations that are happening.
Oh, can you imagine?
Yeah,
Fuck it, let him have that team. Let him have that game.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't want to see those guys on our network. Do we really want the ratings that low? I guarantee you that's what goes on in those rooms. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, it's got to be just boring to some degree about, okay, well, let's see, we got these games. Let's just cut those guys completely out because they absolutely suck. and they're going to kill our ratings. And the Chargers, they've got 6 fans, so we might as well hang that one up right now. We don't want them on our network unless they're playing the Chiefs or the Bills or Cincinnati or maybe the Ravens. So yeah, you're right. The saving grace is going to be, you know, who they're playing. It's
Yeah.
absolutely going to be who they're playing.
So if I gave you the over under of 2.5 of the Chiefs playing noon games, would you take the over or under?
I would take the over.
You think they're going to play more than 2?
Oh, you mean more?
Yeah.
Oh, I would definitely take the under.
I think with the fact that Kansas City can play an unlimited amount of primetime games now,
Absolutely.
I can't imagine that they take what I mean. With the schedule or the opponents in front of me, I mean, what the Patriots or might be the worst game that they end up playing, or the Bears Lions, depending on how those teams look. But we're gonna have so many prime time. If you're an NFL red zone user, it's a great time to be a Chiefs fan because you can watch your team all alone in the 325 / whatever window that they're in, and you can watch every other NFL team and keep up with the NFL that way.
I got to tell you something. I mean, look, do yourself a favor. For I think it's during the regular season, it's like $9.99 a month, and you can get NFL Plus, and then you can watch whatever you want for the most part. Strangely enough, the NFL app, if you buy that, they have blacklisted games where if you want, you can listen to it on NFL Plus, but you're definitely not going to see it. I want to know really quick from you, and this is still, we're going to go back into the who's falling off in 2023 because we've got a few teams that we are going to consider. You know what? Let's do a real quick commercial break, and I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to give me your answer, and then we'll go into that as well.
Underdog Fantasy is here to save your post-fantasy football season blues. The easiest place to play and win with the Underdog Fantasy app. Get up to 20 times your money in a single night with our Pick'em contests. Grab some insurance when setting your picks and win even when one pick fails. Go online now and use the promo code ChiefsFocus to double your deposit up to $100. Sit gingerbread, good girl.
You know, go to underdogfantasy.com and hey man, double your bet. Up to $100, who cares? Not only that, I got to say, they have to get a new dog for that commercial. Them wiry, ugly ass mutts. God, they're ugly. But anyway, it's a great time to be, especially with the NBA going on right now and all these crazy playoff games going on. It's a good time to make your bets.
Hey, and some of the NFL games they're already releasing. I know that Kansas City is favored by 5.5 points over the Dolphins already. If you think Tua is going to get hurt before they play him,
put your money down.
Good time to hit that 5.5.
That's right. I mean, hey man, if you can double up on $100 and end up with a $200 bet, take it, especially on that game. Real quick, we know that that YouTube is taking over NFL Ticket, and all of the games are going to be played on YouTube. All the, what do you think they're going to charge compared to DirecTV?
Oh,
you think it's going to be crazy priced, or do you think they're going to be somewhat easy the first year?
I think, they're going to try and get their money back, right? So I think it'll still be hundreds of dollars, I mean, it's still going to be an insane cost. But, I
paid, I want to say I paid $43 a month for it for the season.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to be that or, well, I don't know. We have YouTube stuff, so I don't know if they're going to charge us more or not. But I would love to find out what that's going to be. They haven't announced that yet, what their prices are going to be. Not that I've seen anyway, but they're definitely going to make their money back really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Probably within the first 2 weeks.
The NFL continues to put on the NFL is one of the few sporting events that I actually think it's better to watch on TV than actually going to the game.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it depends on where you're at too. If you're going to Arrowhead, that's a great time, no matter where your seats are. But
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just with the graphics and everything that they're able to do. Even like Sunday Night Football is probably the best out of all the primetime slots, right? Just the viewing of Sunday Night Football is just so good, and that just comes from reinvesting back into it. The NFL has done an amazing job, and it's why not only just because the sport itself is good, but the reason why the NFL continues to grow is because they continue to invest in making the viewing process for us fans better. It seems like every year, the NFL is not afraid to work with some of the on TV stuff, and obviously investing in offense. When we really talk about this, making it harder for defenses to play and easier for offensive to scores. I mean, that makes the game, more interesting to watch. But yeah, it's going to continue to be a good product.
yeah, I agree. Okay, so let's segue into something really quick. The name of our show is Who Falls Off in 2023. So we've got, let's just pick, I guess you would, if you want to consider them, 6 top dogs in the NFL. So you got the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Ravens, maybe 7, the Eagles, and 49ers. So is that, yeah, that's 7, right? Yeah. Out of those teams, who do you think is going to fall off the most?
So we're just sticking with the AFC, right?
Well, I said the Eagles in San Francisco, but let's just do AFC right now, and then we'll roll over and we'll talk about the NFC because that's a crapshoot. Anybody can fall off in that division. So,
well, it's it's really difficult to point out because I think the bad teams are just going to stay bad, right? Like because when you think of falling off, you think of like a team that made the playoffs is going to miss the playoffs, or a team that had 10 wins is going to fall off and not have as many wins. Those are the kind of teams that you think of. But just running through some of the teams that won, the Bills won 13 games, Bengals 12, Jaguars won 9, but they won their division. I think they'll win their division again. And Kansas City had 14. Off the top of my head here, I can't imagine that any of those teams necessarily fall off. Probably if one's going to happen, it's going to be the Bills, right? But I still think they make the playoffs. I don't think they win 13 games again. I think that division has gotten more difficult, and so they're not going to be able to win. Maybe they win 3 games in the division instead of 4. They don't sweep anybody in particular. So I don't know if in the AFC, not to be really wishy-washy on this, I don't know if there's anybody that necessarily falls off. I think the Ravens are still going to be a good team. Right?
I think they're going to be a better team than they were.
Yeah,
last
so
year
I still
because
think they
got
can
Lamar
win
and-
10 games again. I think that's completely realistic. I still think the Bengals are going to win that division. We've talked endlessly over the past couple of shows about how the Jaguars are better and will continue to get better, and the AFC South sucks. So the Jaguars are going to probably win double-digit games this year. And then Kansas City's going to be Kansas City, right? Maybe you could argue that the Chargers will fall off because that wide receiver group continues to age out, but they won 10 games. So when they're falling off, are they going to go 9-8? I just don't know if in the AFC anything is really going to get all that shuffled up.
Well, here's my thing. I've been thinking about this a little bit, and when I mean fall off, like the perpetual wheel that's been going on with, like the Bills are a great example. They fell off at the end of the season last year. I think they're going to fall off again, and I don't know if they'll win 10 games. I think their schedule is going to be a little more difficult this year, a lot more difficult with the fact that the Jets are better, Miami's better. New England, I don't know yet. They didn't do shit in the draft to help their quarterback, so I don't know if they're going to be any better or not. Yeah, they're going to have a good defense, but the old adage that defenses win championships, fuck, that doesn't even work in the regular season anymore.
Yeah.
You can have a top 5 defense, but if you have no offense, what good is it? Especially against teams like now that are, when you talk about like playing Mahomes, he played what, 5 top 5 defenses last year, and he beat every one of them.
Yeah.
So I see the Bills falling off. I got to tell you, I don't see Miami growing any at all. I don't see them enhancing their game because they're sticking with Tua. And I think as long as they do that, there's a really big risk that he gets injured or he has an episode or whatever the case may be. And I'm not trying to slam Tua. I was a big proponent of his. I hoped he would make it in the NFL. But God, man, I mean, the kid, I think he should have he actually contemplated retirement. He talked a lot about it. But I think he should have at least taken a season off. I don't care what the doctors say, if he's ready or not. I don't think he's ready. And, team doctors are going to say whatever they want. Whatever they want the player to hear, especially depending on how much they get paid. NFL doctors, we've seen what happened with that. Tua is a great example of that. They got their on-field NFL guys that screwed the pooch and got him, supposedly had a back spasm when it was actually a concussion and put him out the next week to get fucking hammered. So, and then he had another one that really wasn't even contact related. He just had an episode in the middle of the field. So I think it's a mistake for them to put him back out there, and they should really have a backup plan for him and their team.
Well, the Dolphins had a minus point differential too. They went 9-7 and had a point differential of -2. And now that's not a lot, but it's hard for you to say that. So probably if I was going to say that, Bills Dolphins probably slide off. Probably Bills more in the actual win total.
Yeah.
We know two wins. 2 less wins can make a huge difference. So, and obviously, the Bills didn't play the Bengals.
Yeah.
So they could have been 13-4. I mean, they were getting their butts handed to them before the Hamlin, what happened to him on the field. So, yeah, I think the Bills probably slide off. They probably lose a couple of games. The Dolphins, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins, slide into 3rd or 4th place in that division. I'm not convinced they got much better, if at all. But other than that, I think the AFC stays relatively similar. I don't think we see a team that really jumps around that much in terms of falling off.
Do you think Cincinnati will win more than 12 games?
Man, 12's a lot. I'd have to pull up their schedule and see, who they're playing. But I think 12 seems right to where they're supposed to be. If I were to pick without knowing who they're playing, I guess I would probably take the under just because it's easier for me to argue the under instead of the over. Because 12 is a lot of games.
It is.
So I would probably say that I would probably take the under just without looking at it. I think Baltimore's good. And the Steelers are still going to be one of the better teams. There's a reason why, despite the chaos that has happened there within the last 4 years, really, that they still haven't had a losing record there. I mean, for God's sake, they were -38 in point differential and still won 9 games.
Yeah.
That is a well-coached team, so I will never count off them.
Yeah, I agree. I think the divisions. I don't know if the division's actually gotten better because of the situation with Baltimore. I think they've gotten better. I think Lamar has a lot to prove right now, especially since he got what he wanted.
Yeah, go do it, man.
You're an exciting
football player. I love to watch you.
Yeah, so I think he's got a lot to prove, and I think and look, man, Harbaugh's got a lot to prove because he was on the hot seat last year. They almost fired him in midseason, so he's got a lot to prove. There's a few coaches this year that are going to be on the hot seat. Staley's on the hot seat. There's no doubt about that. He's absolutely on the hot seat. McDermott is going to be on the hot seat as much as people don't want to recognize that. I've heard from inside sources with the Bills that he is not well trusted from the players. And Josh Allen actually isn't trusted as much with the players as he used to be. And the organization doesn't have as much trust in Josh Allen as they used to have. As much as they want to portray it on TV, that's the reality of it. So I think, it's going to be an interesting year for the Bengals, given the fact that they're putting a lot of faith in OBJ. They think they have got, and they may have a massive upgrade compared to what they had last year, but he's still one player, and he's still limited in a lot of ways. So you gave him an ignorant amount of money, in my opinion, for 58% pressure rate.
Yeah, I think the AFC is obviously the more intriguing conference. I do think that the NFC is just clearer in terms of who we think can fall off. If you want to move on to the NFC,
Yeah, definitely.
I think the Vikings are the first one for me. The
Yeah.
Vikings defense was god awful. There's a reason why they lost to the Giants in the first round of the playoffs, right? The Vikings were not really a good football team last year. They despite winning 13 games, they had a -4 point differential or a -3 point differential. So the Vikings are not going to continue that. I
No.
know that the Packers lost Aaron Rodgers, but I'm not counting them off. That's still a good football team.
I got a feeling they're going to be leaps and bounds better than what anybody assumes they're going to be.
Yeah, I still think the Bears are probably going to be towards the bottom of the NFL. They're still in a rebuild mode. But the Vikings are probably not winning that division next year. I would probably give it to the Packers, and the Lions will probably stick to where they are, right around 500. So the Vikings, long story short, the Vikings probably fall off this coming season. And I would also put the Cowboys in that spot as well. But more importantly, I think the Vikings are the team in the NFC that falls off.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Vikings are probably going to be that team that just collapses. Again, we talked about this before. Look, Kirk Cousins had a losing record, a 5-year stretch with Washington, and it was a losing record. So no matter how you look at it, yeah, he may have thrown for 4,700 yards or 4,000 yards or 4,300 yards, but he still had a losing record. And I don't see how they haven't done enough to improve themselves defensively, and they really haven't done much offensively to improve themselves to get better. They're just going to get worse. And look, man, strength of schedule is fucking real. I don't care what anybody says. I've been preaching this shit for years. And when people bring up stats and all this shit, top 5, top 1, this is the top defense. Every week we played the number 1 defense last year. I don't know if you noticed that, but it seemed like the first 9 games we played the number 1 defense 5 times. We played the number 3 defense 3 times. It's like, come on, man. I mean, think about what you're saying right now. Do you realize that anybody could be number 1 depending on who they're playing? If you've got the 32nd easiest schedule in football, you might have a top 5 defense. Pretty fucking easy to figure out. So the stats don't mean shit when it comes to that. Now, if you're talking about a team that has either between number 1 and say the top 12 toughest strength of schedule or toughest schedule in the league, yeah, then you can argue, okay, maybe they do have a top 5 defense. Maybe they do have the best ranked offense. We came in 11th overall last year in defense, and we were still the top offense in the NFL, scoring offense in the NFL. So, and we had the toughest the first 9 games were the toughest of any team last year, and that was given, and it was proven because of who we played, and they were true teams. It wasn't just, like they did with the Broncos is a great example. The Broncos were ranked, top 3 in defense for a while. Then they went to top 5. I don't know that they were ever top 3 or 5 because they, with the exception of us, they had a pretty simple schedule. You can say the same thing about Cincinnati. Cincinnati had the same thing, not last year, but the year before. They had a very easy schedule. And if you guys remember, I think they went 1-6 before they started on their streak of winning. And last year they didn't start off the greatest. So if anybody out there wants to really dive into it and look at it, look at the strength of schedule before you start throwing stats on people. Because right now, the NFC has been weak as shit. So, yeah, I mean, the Eagles, what were the Eagles last year? Top offensive line, top defensive line.
Yeah.
No sacks in the Super Bowl. 6 pressures. We got to Jalen Hurts 3 times. and pressured him. I want to say it was like 13 times. He had 13 pressures on him, 14 pressures, something like that. So I don't know, man. I mean, you can look at it in so many different aspects, but strength of schedule is really where it's at. And if you don't pay attention to that, you're really tooting somebody's horn for no reason.
Well, that's where the NFL can, the parity in the NFL, right? Because if you're a last place team, the next year you have a last place schedule.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in other sports because in other
Exactly.
sports there are so many games. There's no such thing as a last place schedule. Baseball,
Yeah.
you play 162 games. You're facing everybody, so there is no last place schedule. Basketball, it's the same thing. There's so many games that you're not playing teams. Football, there's so many limited games. You can't face everybody in one year. So the
Exactly.
Broncos will face the Texans, this year because they were both last place in the division, or
Mhm.
that's just the way that it works out. So if you're a bad team and over the offseason you're able to get a couple of guys, maybe you find your quarterback, or in the case of the Bengals a few years ago, Joe Burrow comes back from tearing his knee or blowing his knee out. Well, he comes back and now he's in a last place schedule, but he's fully healthy and ready to go. So he's able to go on this great winning streak to go to the playoffs because, well, the Bengals are a better team than last place. Just last year that their quarterback, or, the previous year their quarterback got hurt. So they sort of benefit from that the following year.
Yeah.
That's
and that's what Miami's going to do this year. They're going to benefit from their downfall last year.
That's where the NFL is different, and that's why the parity in the NFL is it's so easy to have a turnaround season, easy, quote unquote. It's just because you have one bad year. The NFL tries to make it as easy as possible for you to be relevant again.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. With the NFC, I think when you're really gonna, I as much as I don't really think the Eagles were a bad football team, I think that they were overrated in a lot of ways because of their schedule last year. Now, in the playoffs, did they look great? Well, yeah, they played a team that had no quarterback. They went through they were on their fourth quarterback to end up with a concussion. And then the guy that tore his elbow came out and handed the ball off to the end of the game.
I still stand by he should have tried to throw the ball with his left hand.
He should have. I mean, he absolutely should have. I don't know why he didn't. He probably could have got somewhere with it. He's not Mahomes. I understand that.
No, but I can throw the ball with my right hand, and I'm left-handed. Like I can at least move the ball 5 yards. It's not going to look pretty, but it's better than running the ball into a 9-man box.
Absolutely, they all knew what was coming, so it was like, how could you not stack up against that? But I don't know, man. I think San Francisco is going to be a team that people are really going to be, they're going to be surprised with this year. I think they were a true top 2 defense last year. And I think if Purdy would have been able to complete that game, he would have won that game. I truly believe that. That kid has got more talent than you want to give him credit for. I know you don't like him because he was Mr. Irrelevant.
That's not why I don't like him. I don't like him because he was picked so late.
Okay, but that's the point. Pacheco was picked late. Pacheco was almost an undrafted free agent. And look at him. Tom Brady was 199th pick.
I don't care, where you're picked. I'm just going off of what I see on the film.
I know, but he was actually a good quarterback.
He was not. He was fine. I'm not throwing. He was fine. Okay, he had some
Way
very
better than Tua.
late reads. All right, he did not process the field as well as people want to say he did.
I think he processed pretty damn good. I think he did a damn good job for a kid that came in.
The next coming of football Jesus that people
want. Well, no, but I'm saying for a kid that came into the league and never thought he would touch a clipboard, much less the NFL field for the next 5 years, I think he did a pretty damn good job. Now, I'm not saying that he was – look, it's an easy system to be a good quarterback in. It's always been an easy system to be a good quarterback in. But he did make – and look – what's his name? Josh Johnson? Isn't that his name? The kid that got knocked out, the 4-string quarterback?
Yeah, the guy that got a concussion, I believe.
Yeah, he's been in the league for what, 13 years, and I didn't even know he existed, sadly. But he didn't play as good as Purdy did. So I think he has a good head on his shoulders, and I think he learns very quickly and adapts very quickly. And they're going to go with him this year. They're picking him over Lance.
It's crazy.
So it is what it is, man. I mean, they see something in him that nobody else sees. And I think, well, I can't say nobody, but a lot of people don't see. And I believe he's going to prove a lot of people wrong. They think that 7-0 run was bullshit. You don't go 7-0 as a quarterback if you're not doing something right. And he did. So I have to give him credit for that, man. He could have been total dog shit. I promise you, if Josh Johnson was in that same position, it wouldn't have been a 7-0 run. It just wouldn't have been. As quarterback friendly as that system is, it wouldn't have been a 7-0 run. I just don't believe it. So I don't even think they'd have made the playoffs. I just don't see it happening. So I don't know, man. I think San Francisco will surprise the Eagles. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. I can see the Eagles falling off a little bit this year. They lost their offensive coordinator, their defensive coordinator. There's a few players that retired. You got some guys on there that are 140 years old that are still playing.
Yeah, that conference is so weak. That division is still relatively weak. I mean, the Commanders, Giants with Daniel Jones, the Cowboys are going to continue to lose in the first round of the playoffs because that's just what the Cowboys do. So I'm not sure that, we can say, whether you think the Eagles are better, worse, the same with different players. I don't think that matters just because you have the best quarterback in the conference. And
they do.
Kansas City knows that'll take you a long way.
Yeah, it will. It definitely will. But look at it from a different perspective. Okay, this is how I want you to look at this. When he was injured with his shoulder and he played, even through the Super Bowl, he didn't play well. Okay, he handed the ball off a lot. They were playing some really easy defensive lines, and they were able to squeeze through. I don't believe they're going to have that luxury this year. And if you don't have, he's the guy that needs 4 or 5 absolutely beast weapons around him. That's who he is. Most quarterbacks are. That's the difference between him and even, say, Mahomes. Mahomes can win with less. I don't know if he can. Look at his prior, 3 years in the league? Or 3 years in the league prior to this season? He wasn't good. It took him a long time to get to the level he was at last year. And that was because they gave him A.J. Brown, they wrapped him with a ton of weapons, and he had a very favorable schedule. I just don't know that that's going to happen this year. I could be wrong, but I just don't know if that's going to happen. And I'm wondering if that contract that he got isn't going to fuck with him a little bit. It happens to a lot of them. They get a contract, then they kind of relax because they know they're getting paid. I don't know if he's like that. He seems very competitive. He seems like, at first I thought he was a little arrogant, but I think it's more just being quiet than anything. I don't know, man. It's just, to me, I just feel like if they have a tougher schedule than they did last year, and they really haven't done much to improve their team, although it seemed like they did pretty well in the draft. I just don't know if they're going to be able to translate to the NFL as week 1 starters or day 1 starters.
But I would say that they probably got better, right?
Well, they did. Over time.
Faster, more athletic, and I just think that, man, who's the second best quarterback in that conference? Dak Prescott? Is it Kirk Cousins? Are we gonna have the serious conversation that Jared Goff is a top 5 quarterback in the NFC?
That's sad because it's true. I would put Brock Purdy in the top 6.
These are the quarterbacks. Seriously
saying.
Though, these are the so when you are by far and away the best quarterback, and the talent gap between Jalen Hurts and the next guy is so much more significant than Patrick Mahomes and the next guy.
Well, yeah, because I get what you're saying. But then if you look at Mahomes and then everybody else, it's the fucking Grand Canyon.
There's two Grand Canyons between Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott.
Oh, absolutely.
Jalen Hurts and
there is.
Daniel Jones.
There's no doubt.
Jalen Hurts and the young career of Justin Fields. Like, because Aaron Rodgers left and Tom Brady retired, this is a seriously talentless conference. I've never seen.
Hey, wait a minute, man! You forgot about Derek Carr.
Oh fuck yeah, Derek Carr. Is Derek Carr a
what the fuck? I mean, you forgot about Derek Carr, man.
In the NFC.
He's a top 5 in the NFC.
God, it's so sad to be in NFC. I can't believe all these quarterbacks once again got drafted by AFC teams. And I know, we're the Colts drafted the highest ceiling guy with Trent. I mean, he couldn't have gotten drafted. Somebody else couldn't have picked him up. Okay. And of course the Panthers picked Bryce Young, fucking mini me. All right.
Yeah.
I can't deal with the NFC's quarterback. I mean, we've spent the last probably 15 years, right, developing quarterbacks and saying how important quarterbacks have been. It's the most important position in team sports, and it's only getting more and more important as teams turn away from the run game, and quarterback mobility keeps going up, and the importance of all of this stuff, right? Quarterback is becoming more and more important as time progresses. And the NFC, just as a whole, was like, you know what we could use? A mediocre at best quarterback. That's what we could use.
With every team. I agree. I mean, look, but Derek Carr is leaps and bounds better than what they had prior.
I'm so happy that a bottle of bourbon and a bucket of gumbo is what you're comparing what they previously had there. That's what the New Orleans Saints were trotting out there.
I understand.
What they call the Superdome now.
But look, man, give Derek as much as I fuck with him about his tattooed eyeliner and being a crybaby and all this shit that he does. I got memes I've made. I've posted them all over Twitter about him. He's a crybaby. He's got tattooed eyeliner. That fucks with me, dude. I don't know if it fucks with you, but it fucks with me. And yet, he's still a pretty decent quarterback. He's not horrible. He's just not the guy that's going to get you completely over the hump. That's the difference between... He's like 3 steps down from Alex Smith. Alex Smith was like one of the greatest quarterbacks, game managers, great people, great. Everything about him was great. He just couldn't get you over the hump. Derek Carr can't get you over the speed bump. But he's still a better quarterback than a lot of people give him credit for. And a lot of the problem that he had was with the Raiders. That's a shit organization.
Yeah.
So I will give him, he's better than his brother ever was. Fuck, I hate his brother.
Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill,
Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah, all of these guys are the same. They're the
Is
exact
he still
same
playing?
person. Yeah,
For who?
The Titans, man.
Oh, he's still with the Titans?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. I forgot about him for a while.
Jimmy Garoppolo, right? All these guys, they're all the same quarterback. They will bounce around between, the fringe 10 to slightly below average, depending on the week. They're all the same quarterback.
I will say this, because I've said it numerous times. A player, no matter who they are, or for the most part, I'm going to give this to 98% of the players that have been drafted in the NFL. They're only as good as the system they're in. They're only as good as the coaching staff they have, the organization that they work for. So we can sit here and cut down people all day long about how crappy they've been and all that shit. But in the same aspect, we have to look at it. And I've learned this more and more over the last 6 years than I did the previous 26 years I was around the Chiefs, is that if you don't fit within the system, it doesn't matter how fucking great you are. It doesn't matter at all, because you're still going to look like shit. And that's just, you have to be a very special individual, an Aaron Rodgers, a Peyton Manning, a Patrick Mahomes, to be able to fit within a system and fucking win. And win without a top 5 defense. That's what sets a Peyton Manning and an Aaron Rodgers and a Patrick Mahomes apart from everybody else that's played this game. And I'm going to take that back. And a Joe Montana. Because Joe Montana, there was times, I mean, he won 4 Super Bowls, and in 2 of those, he had a terrible defense, and he still won. So, and he brought us to really the best glory year we had prior to now, since 1970. So, you got to differentiate the player and the system. Certain players can fit within any system and just thrive. Very few, but they can do it, especially a skill position player. But when it comes down to raw ability, intelligence, football IQ, everything that comes along with it, there's only a handful of these guys that can go and say, I can play with that shitty team and make them better. I can make those 5 rookies look like superstars. I can make that below average wide receiver a 1,000-yard receiver in one season. There's very few guys that can do that. That's the difference between, a Derek Carr, a Tua, I like Justin Herbert. I don't know if he's that guy. I think he's done a pretty damn good job with that shit system he's in and a terrible organization. If he was with somebody else, I think he'd probably already have at least sniffed an AFC Championship game.
I agree with that.
I truly believe that.
I think he's just in a bad.
It's in a terrible situation.
I mean, a defensive coach that can't coach defense.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly where you hit the nail on the head. And a guy that doesn't give a shit about his players. He doesn't care if they're hurt. He doesn't care if they're, hobbling out there. He doesn't care about any of that. He just wants to win. And that's the wrong mindset to have. I still think they should have gotten rid of the tush push this year. I don't know why they didn't. I think it's really just kind of a chicken shit way to get the first down. If you don't have they said, well, Jalen Hurts can leg press 600 pounds or squat 600 pounds. Okay, does that mean that he can still get past 8 guys? No, it doesn't.
Yeah, just wait till one of these quarterbacks gets hurt, and then they'll change the rule.
Well, they almost did it this year. It was close.
Only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, my friend.
You're right. I think they should have done it, but it is kind of I think it's a chicken shit way of getting a first down. It's a chicken shit way of getting a touchdown. But, hey, if the league says it's okay, you got to get away with it. The one thing we never have to worry about is that. Mahomes doesn't need somebody grabbing him by the ass and throwing him over a line. If he's 3rd and 8, if he's 4th and 8, he's going to get you a first down 90% of the time. One way or another, he'll get that first down. He doesn't need that help. And that's what I love about this kid is he doesn't need the help. Just doesn't need it. Let's address something really quick because of all the bullshit talk. We talked about this last night on our show about Mahomes' contract. There is a little bit of talk. Somebody put out that it was absolutely being renegotiated and it's going to be done by the beginning of the offseason. I don't believe that's going to happen. I don't think that, in fact, Brett Veach's words were, we're in constant communications. That's the lowest thing on our priority list right now, and it's the lowest thing on Pat's priority list right now. Pat's words, I make enough money. I don't need any more.
Yeah. I mean, I think if he really wanted it, it could be done. I just don't see that. I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of early in that contract for it to be done.
You're 2.5 years into a 10-year contract.
Yeah, I do feel like it's a little early. Plus, I feel like because when Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow get their new contract, right, the new money is not kicking in right away. You'll get a huge signing bonus, and but your cap hit and the amount of money you're making for the first couple of years of the contract isn't really going to kick in. So I feel like when this contract, Patrick Mahomes' contract, gets renegotiated or whatever you want to call it, I think it will happen when the new money for those 2 deals kick in, which is about 2 years down the road. And at that point, Patrick Mahomes will be 5 years into the new contract. then I think that's when that conversation starts to happen. And, then we can have this talk about how much money is he worth. And by that point, I think that he'll be so far out of the top paid guys, and the salary cap will be so significantly different as more and more states legalize sports gambling, et cetera, that I feel like that's about the time when that should happen.
Well, and also you got to look at it from this standpoint. Okay, Mahomes has four national endorsements, and then he has 5 or 6 local endorsements. National grocery stores, meaning local. Whataburger, people like that.
Oh, he's got a ton of them. I mean,
he's made in excess of $135 million in endorsements alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oakley's. There's a private jet company that he works with.
Yeah.
Of course.
They gave him a jet, by the way.
Commercials.
Yeah.
I think he also has dealings with Coors Light.
Absolutely.
I mean, the list just goes on and on about all the endorsements he has. So, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and I think that, with our platform, we should talk about some of the lower rung guys that need to get paid. And guys like, I mean, he didn't sign with us, but guys like Juan Thornhill, right? Good players that, deserve to get new contracts and get new money. Those are the guys that I think that we should get on the wagon for. The Colin Saunders of the world, these guys that should get, new contracts, more money, and not.
And they have. I mean, they've gotten better.
Yeah, both of them got signed this offseason, but those are the guys that we should be talking about should get new and more money, and not the Patrick Mahomes of the world who, if he retired today, would be set for not just him, but his
grandchildren,
kids, kids.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm not in the business of talking about giving Patrick Mahomes, more money when I know that he's going to get new money eventually and he's fine.
Yeah. It's just comical at best. Like Andy said, apparently he doesn't get paid enough.
Objectively speaking, the guy doesn't make enough from the Chiefs. I mean, he's the best quarterback in the NFL by far, and he doesn't.
Absolutely, but he's not the guy that cares. That's the difference.
It's not just about the money.
No, he sees the big picture. He understands, okay, I am not I'll just say it. How many endorsements does Joe Burrow have besides the local chili place in Skyline Chili in Cincinnati? None. He has no national that I've seen. He doesn't have any national endorsements. I mean, when you get to that level, I know Josh Allen has one, which is Gillette.
Yeah,
that's
Gillette.
It. That's all he's got. So he's got a crappy razor. Harry's is better. I'm just telling you now. When you get to that level and you're making $80 million off of one endorsement, like Patrick Mahomes did with State Farm, or you make another $22 million off of Coors Light, and then you make $30 million off of Oakley, and that shit's still rolling, it's still going on to this day. Those are numbers. Those are past tense numbers. That's not what he's going to make. That's what he has made. He's not advertising for the local chili joint down on 5th Street. He's advertising for companies that matter, that can pay him millions of dollars to show up for 30 seconds. So he doesn't need the money. For everybody out there that is worried, that all the Chiefs fans out there that are so fucking worried about Patrick Mahomes' contract, you're worried way more than he is.
I think there are non-Chiefs fans that are worried about his contract.
It's crazy.
So I think he also has like a shoe deal too. I think he has his own shoe line.
I think he's got his own shoe line. I think it's through Nike. Or no, is it Nike or Adidas?
I don't know that.
I think it's Adidas. But regardless, he doesn't need it. He's a part owner of a baseball team. Fucking hamburger joint.
Women's
soccer team. Yeah, come on, man. This guy, look, by the time he's 30 years old, he will be a billionaire.
Yeah, I hope.
And it's not going to be off the Chiefs.
He might be the first NFL billionaire player.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think any of I don't think any of them have hit that spot yet.
No. So
maybe Tom Brady has.
I don't think he has yet. When Giselle, he was close with Giselle because she made a lot more money than he did.
Yeah.
But she's gone and she took her money with her. So, and he was the 17th highest paid player in the league up until he got to the Bucks. He made very little money compared to other players in the league that didn't have his accolades, if you want to put it that way. But again, if you look up net worth of a lot of different players, I mean, Alex Smith got a $117 million contract from Washington, plus what he made with us. And when you look at his net worth, it's probably under $50 million.
49ers.
And yeah, exactly. And I think his net worth is under $50 million.
Yeah.
So
we all know who my hero is, Chase Daniel. So he's made like he's something like $50 million over his career.
$48 million or something over his career, and has never really been a starter. He did for like just 5 games with us.
I mean,
yeah,
and what a guy.
Yeah, fucking smart. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to act like I can play, and then I'm going to be a backup for like 15 years and make 50 million.
Yeah, it's like $42 million over his career.
Yeah, that's pretty strong. Can't really complain about that. So, anyway, I think everybody needs to get off that bandwagon. I don't think it's going to happen this year. If it does, it's going to me it's going to be very surprising. But the couple people that I have talked to have said the exact same thing that Brett Veach reiterated after we had talked about it on the show. It's a lot low on our priority list. And we've talked about this numerous times with Mahomes. He doesn't care. So his words, I make enough money. I don't need any more. I just want to win. See, that's the difference between Mahomes and Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is going to ask for 60+ million, and he's going to take up so much cap space, and he needs all the top elite weapons around him. Mahomes does not. He's won with rookies. He's won with veterans that are washed up to a degree. He's won with a 27th ranked defense and a defense that ended up being 11th overall with 7 rookies. I'm sorry. So I don't know how to put this any more clear that it doesn't really matter. Everybody out there in football land that is so worried about Patrick Mahomes' contract and his stature in the NFL, he doesn't give a rat's ass. He wants to win Super Bowls, and he will continue to do that on his current contract. And whatever the Chiefs decide to do, they decide to do, but it's not going to be on his because he asked for it. It's going to be because they want to give it to him. It's that simple. So, with that being said, do you have anything else?
No, that's it. I will have an article coming out tomorrow.
Cool.
That we will talk about on tomorrow's show on our other network.
Yes.
On our actual video on Chiefs Focus on YouTube. So follow us there, and I'll talk about that. But
check us out on Chiefs Focus Live.
Yeah, that's it for me. Tomorrow we'll finish up our conversations about the schedules because that'll come out officially tomorrow, and we'll talk about all the best games and all that fun stuff tomorrow. So other than that, I think this is it.
That's it. Well, I appreciate Fantasy Sports Corporation for allowing us to do this every Wednesday. It's a blast. And we appreciate Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this show. And we will talk to you guys again tomorrow night on Chiefs Focus Live, 8 p.m. Central Time. Peace out, everybody.